It is time for something really new for Mrs. Mummy Penny. This is very exciting. I am here live on Mrs. Mummy Penny Facebook page, and I am recording my new podcast. I say new, it's not really new, is it? Because I've been recording a podcast for more than a year now, but what I've decided to do is to record it at home. So I will explain a bit of the setup going on around me because it's very bizarre. Now this is my first episode of, I'm going to call it an episode of series 2 of Mrs. Mummy Penny Talks. It's going to be at the same time every week. So that's 11 o'clock on a Tuesday morning. It'll last for, oh, that depends. It depends who I'm interviewing, who I'm talking to, maybe like half an hour, 45 minutes. And yeah, it's going to carry along the same veins as what I did before when I had my show on the radio station. So what I'm doing at home, this is bizarre, very bizarre. So I am sat under my stairs. There's a blanket behind me covering the electricity box because I thought that would look a bit rubbish in a video on my Facebook page. But what I've been told, I've spoken to many great podcasters around the world and around the country, is that you need a small space. So the acoustics don't bounce off too many harsh edges. So a fluffy blanket behind me should make for good acoustics. So fingers crossed, hey? So I'm recording this on my computer as I speak, and we have the very attractive gamer headphones with the mic. So I speak into the mic. So yeah, this is the equipment I have. I'm not sure if it's the right equipment, but let's just go with it. These don't look the most attractive. I have been told that before, so maybe I'll get a proper mic. Anyway, we'll see. We'll see what this sounds like when I listen back. So yes, so Mrs. Mummy Penny Talks. So I first started my podcast June 2018. So you can go onto my website and you can listen back to all the episodes I've got before, where I basically talk about money. I talk about some of the things that I've got up to in the past week. And I get a guest on to talk about their story, and they always answer the same question, which is, what is your biggest money success and your biggest money weakness? So I've had some amazing guests on the show and shared some really, really insightful information. Standout guests. Oh, who do I include as my standout guests? So I'm going to quote people like Kat Biles. She was a really wonderful guest, and I spoke to her all the way from Antigua, and she talked about how she got to the point of her business, which is where she's a PR from the heart coach. So she helps business people come up with a strategy from their heart rather than from their head. She lives in Antigua for a few months of the year, and she lives in the UK for some of the months of the year. So yeah, we had a great talk, and we ventured onto all sorts of things, talking about Avicii and our music inspirations and her book. She's just started a podcast as well. So yeah, that was a standout interview. Loads of people have come on to talk about books they've written. So Pete Matthew came on to talk about his book. We had Warren Shute come on to talk about his book. They both wrote about money books. Zoe Morrison came on to talk about her eco-thrifty living book. And then I've had lots of people come on to talk about their companies. So Jasper Martin came on to talk about Pension Bee. I had Claire Gambadello come on to talk about Zopa Money. And I've got an interview coming up next week, which I have actually pre-recorded, with Maya Chakova from Beyond Life, to talk about her business, which is making the process of wonderful things we have to think of later in life a lot easier. So yeah, it's really interesting guests, and it's fascinating when you actually sort of get into their lives and actually find out what their money sort of patterns are, and their sort of proudest moments and things they're not so proud of. I've had some really interesting stories of debt, mistakes. Debt, is that a mistake? Yes, I suppose debt is a mistake, but very amazing stories of paying off of debt, of people taking out 110% mortgages and getting themselves into loads of trouble, but then some incredible money successes of creating businesses and sustainable incomes, and buying properties and investing money. And I need to keep that on because I keep the light on my face. Is that still recording? I hope so. Oh, I think that stopped. Now it started again. Yes, so really, really interesting story. So look out for some really great guests coming up. I often talk to quite a lot of money experts as well, because I've got a wonderful community of people who I work with my blog. So they run their own financial blogs, so they quite often come on and we just talk about sort of money issues of the moment. So I've had guests like Faith Archer of Much More with Less, Emma Maslin from The Money Whisperer, Holly has come on to talk, she's from Thrifty Mum. So yeah, lots of people have come on to talk about what they write about, because there's a lot of us money writers out there. We've all got our very specific stories and our very specific niches that we talk about. So yeah, there's a little bit of an intro to my podcast and what I will be talking to you all about. So this is episode 1 of series 2, and it's my first sort of foray into doing it by myself. So I thought I would have no guests and just come on and do it by myself. And I'll sort of give, I'm gonna almost start from the beginning and give you like a proper introduction to myself, because I went viral last week basically, and that's never happened to me before. So I've been slowly building Mrs. Mummypenny the blog up for years and years now. I'm in my 7th year of running the blog, and slowly building up social media and website traffic, and I've got it to an amazing place, and writing for newspapers and going on TV and stuff. But what happened last week was really interesting. So I work a lot with Alzi, is one of my clients who I work with. So that means I produce lots of content where I either use their products in my home, or I buy my food from Aldi and I cook food. But last week I designed some packed lunch recipes for them. So 15 lots of packed lunches for a week, so 3 boys, 5 days, and I managed to get those healthy packed lunches for less than £10. So I designed the menus, I created them, took lots of pictures, and it was turned into a case study for the Alzi PR agency, and they then sent it out to newspapers. And the newspapers absolutely loved the story. So it was in, it started off in the Mail, it Mail Online on Tuesday of last week, I think, and then it went to the Sun, and then it went to the Mirror, and then all the regionals picked up on it. So it ended up basically being every national and regional, so every national red top, and then all the regional papers picked up on it. It was all over the internet, and it was being shared on loads of Facebook pages. So over the course of how many days? Over the course of sort of 5 days, I got like 1,500 new Instagram followers, another 1,000 Facebook followers. So you may well be listening to this and watching this as a new follower of Mrs. Mummypenny. So yeah, thank you for joining me after seeing that article in the newspapers. And it went absolutely crazy. And the amount of new people that visited my website, I did. I love my statistics. I did have a look. Around, I'm gonna say around 10,000 new people came to my website over the space of 5 days, which is amazing. So yeah, I'm currently sort of thinking of what can I do to sort of keep riding that news, and there'll be some exciting stuff coming up with Aldi, because there's so much you can do with the products from Aldi, and I think they're an amazing brand. I love working with them, so I can come up with lots of great sort of family food for not much money is what I'm thinking. But yeah, we'll see what comes of that. So yeah, lots of new people with arriving at Mrs. Mummypenny, which is very exciting. So wave if you're new on the Facebook Live, because I can see your comments coming through. So yes, Mrs. Mummypenny, my blog has been going since 2013. I started it when I was on maternity leave. with my youngest, who's just about to turn 7. And I literally just wanted to share my money saving sort of tips and knowledge with the world, and thought, let's set up a website and I used to share a tip on Facebook every day, and that was sort of it from the beginning, because I had to go back to work after I think when Jack was about 12 months old or 11 months old. And I carried it on as a hobby. I'd get a piece of content live every week, and you'd be amazed, some of that content now is very regularly searched for on Google, and I get an awful lot of views to some of those posts. There's a post of how to survive on maternity leave, where I've written all about all the things I did to, like, join baby clubs and earn cash back, and all sorts of things like that. That post is really gets a lot of views every day. It gets 100 or so people viewing it, so it's ranking high up there in the Google world. So I carried on Mrs. Mummy Penny as a hobby, and then I was getting quite disillusioned with work, let's just say, and I decided to try and get redundancy out of my job. I didn't want to just quit, and I orchestrated some redundancy money out of the company I was working for. I'd just been relocated from Hertfordshire to London, so I had quite good grounds of relocation. So that's how I got it, and eventually left in June 2015 with some money which paid for the mortgage, whilst I built up Mrs. Mummy Penny from absolutely nothing. Like, zilch. It earned absolutely nothing by the time I left EE. So where are we there? That's June 2015, and then I've just built it over the years. It's been hard at times. There's been certain points where I've thought, oh, can I actually do this? Is this really going to make enough money? But there was always there was always that sort of faith I had that it was going to work. There's nobody else doing what I'm doing. I know that, and I'm good at what I do. So I can write well. I can save money. I'm very good at retaining information, and you could ask me any question, and I would generally know the answer. If I don't specifically know the answer, I know somebody that would. So yeah, I've just kept going, and it grew from a business that turned over like £2,000 or £3,000 in the first year to a business that turned over. So I'm the last 12 months. I'm soon getting to that registration point. So that's the point where my business has got to. Of course, that's turnover, very different thing to profit. How much of that I actually keep is a different thing, because there's lots of business expenses and tax. I have to pay tax, which is a necessary evil, but a necessary evil that pays for wonderful things like the NHS. On that note, I have to go have an ultrasound later on the NHS. So yes, it's an incredible business that I love. I love what I do every day, and I often sort of sit and reflect and think, gosh, what I've achieved, and I've got to this point where I do this incredible job that gives me joy and makes me happy every day. It's a saviour in tough times. So yeah, I love what I do, and you never really know what's going to happen from one day to the next. Of course, I've got a bit of a plan for what's happening this week, but yeah, you never know what's going to drop into your inbox. So it's very exciting. So, and this was a bit of a sporadic thing of, let's just sit under the stairs and record a podcast to tell you all about Mrs. Mummy Penny. And I have no script. I'm winging this conversation. But yeah, that's the story of Mrs. Mummy Penny, and who knows where it'll go in the future. But I think as long as I'm looking forward and trying new things, and saying yes to projects that come through, which maybe are like, oh, should I do that, yes or no, then yeah, it's all good, and carry on building the profile and getting more and more people following me and learning how to save money and be better sort of financially prepared for the future, because that's ultimately what I'm all about. Is I want everyone reading my blog, listening to my podcast, watching my videos to understand their financial position at the moment, but to also be secure in what they're working towards. Because it's all very well managing the monthly budget, you know, and getting the best deal for your energy and making sure you're on a good mortgage deal, and making sure you're getting, you know, the right food from the best place that's, you know, most nutritious and saving you money. All these kind of things are on a monthly basis, but we also have to think about the future and what we're going to need to spend money on in the future. Like for our kids and also our retirement as well, particularly women, which is something that I'm really passionate about. And I work with lots of companies, and the government is talking about things like pensions and pension gender gap and pay gender gap, and making sure that women are properly educated on all things financially and they understand what is happening down the line. Not just focusing on the now. And yeah, saving, I've got an interesting personal story which I often relate to in my blog posts. So I've spent 2 years paying off a big chunk of debt, £16,000, which I paid off in April of this year. So believe me, I know that feeling of helplessness and not knowing what to do next, because it's such a huge amount of money that needs to be paid. But I did it, I got through it, and I did pay it off. It took 2 long years and a lot of I had to make a lot of decisions that impacted on sort of life, a lot of saying no to things, which was really difficult when I'd spent most of my life just saying yes to things, hence why I got into debt maybe. But yeah, unpicking the money mindset of debt and paying that off has been really interesting for me. On my website, there's a pop-up that comes up saying, do you want to get a copy of a book? It's a free ebook, which was the diary I kept in the 2 years when I paid off the debt. So yeah, you can go and read my story, and there's loads of tips in there of things you can do to save money, but there's a lot in there about the sort of psychology and the mental health side of paying off debt. And when I went forward but then went backwards, the end of the summers are always a really hard time, because I've got those 6 weeks where I'm looking after the children and having to pay a lot of money, and wanting to take them on holiday as well. So that did set me back 2 times in 2017 and 2018. So yeah, so that's interesting. And then just the everyday finances of sorting out my own pension, looking into investing money, where to invest money and how to do it, the setting up of an emergency fund. I've written about insurance and the important insurances that you should have. So for example, if you're self-employed, you really should have income protection insurance, because what on earth happens if you can't work and you can't earn money? You need some insurance that will pay out if that so happens. So yeah, I've got all these sort of content, and it's very easy to read, it's very easy to understand, and I just relay it to sort of real life situations, and I just sort of think that if you can see that I've done something myself, and it might be right or it might be wrong, then it's just something good to listen to. So yeah, it's all good. Can you? I don't want that. So yeah, thank you ever so much for joining me, and I was talking for 20 minutes there. That's pretty good for just talking by myself. I've had a break on the podcast actually for about 6 weeks. It has been, so it was summer holidays, so there was lots of time for looking after the boys, and it wasn't practical to go and record the podcast in the studio with the boys, so I stopped, and now I'm back doing it on my own. doing my own thing, so I can share it wherever I want and get it put it onto all the platforms of iTunes and Spotify and everywhere to get it shared as much as possible. So yes, that is my podcast. I will be, yeah, as I said, recording it live on a Tuesday morning at 11 o'clock for about half an hour, and most of the time you're going to get a guest on here. So yeah, thank you for joining me, and I shall get the podcast live on the internet soon. Thanks for watching. Bye.